Vadim Zeland, Projector of a Separate Reality. This is a summary of this book, only available in Russian. It's a really good book in terms of the emphasis on bringing ourselves into presence. And that's the repeated theme, in case you missed most of it, in all of his books, coming into the state of awareness. In the state of awareness, we remember who we are and we create consciously. If we know who we are, we're not going to resist life because life is part of us. Without any further ado, introduction to the summary. Zeland begins with a stark reminder. Almost everyone is living inside a dream without knowing it. Ordinary life, which people take to be solid and objective, is in fact nothing more than unconscious dreaming. This reflection in the mirror of reality appears to move independently, but this is an illusion. The reflection is always tied to thought forms, yet people forget they are the source. The key image is that of the projector. Every person owns this inner device, which continues to spin films in the background. The images you allow into your projector become the slides that shape your world. If you project fear, dependency, and borrowed programs, so as he would call them, pendulums, the mirror faithfully reflects them. If you program common tension and resonance, the reflection aligns accordingly. The tragedy is that most people behave like kittens who do not realize they are staring at themselves in the glass. They believe the reflection dictates reality, never seeing that it only echoes what they project. As he says in other books, this is done through, obviously, thought form and belief, but most powerfully through embodiment and action. That shows reality, hey, I'm serious, let's play this. The introduction frames of the goal of the book are teaching the reader to wake up from the unconscious dream. You're going to keep hearing this because that's the only thing that matters. Everything else is peripheral to it, trying to help us to wake up continually, to stay in the awakeness, and to be aware when we drift off. So recognize that your soul carries a unique treasure, individuality, resonance, and freedom, in which pendulums are constantly trying to suppress. Stop identifying with the reflection and instead shift attention to the projector itself. So that's really, stop identifying with what's going on and switch to knowing what's making it happen. When we understand that, we can steer how we interact with the world much more effectively. Train yourself to break dependence on external programs. Pendulums want obedient puppets, not free creators. This is really big. Understand those things that we're afraid of, that we go along with, etc. Those are smaller than our creative force, but we've been led to believe that we are powerless. We've been led to believe that it happens to us, not through us, not from us, not for us. We forget how it's run. So we keep looking at the mirror. When you take control of the projector, you step into authorship. You no longer consume reality passively, as if it were someone else's movie. You begin to shoot your own. The privilege of this awareness is not granted to everyone. Only those who dare to accept full responsibility for their projection can free themselves from the herd dream and live awake. Now that's huge. This is honestly owning everything, owning the good and owning the bad, understanding I created all of it for me. A lot of times it's those lessons that I need to learn to pull myself out of the traps that I've been in, to help wake myself up to where I am asleep, to bring me into presence, to bring me into ownership, to bring me into reality, to bring me into that creative place. So the author's statements clarified from the text. Everyone owns a precious treasure, the uniqueness of their soul. Our attention is the true commodity because of our creative power. The essence of transurfing, You yourself form the reflection in the mirror of the world. So that's enormous. What we're seeing is a reflection. We have to change ourselves to get the world to reflect that back to us. Do not make plans, create reality. And that's enormous, because when we're making plans, we're trying to force something. We're trying to say, this has to happen this way, this has to happen that way. Creating reality is putting ourselves more in the vibration. Neville Goddard does a lot on this. Putting ourselves in the vibration of where we intend to be, what the reality is that we are creating. And that is our introduction. Welcome back. Projector of a Separate Reality, Vadim Zeland summary. Quintessence of knowledge summary. Zeland condenses the core of transurfing into several fundamental principles. These are not theories, but direct instructions for navigating the mirror of reality. 1. The soul is unique. Every person carries within them an irreplaceable essence. I'd actually say a unique essence. It's almost like everyone has an individual vibration. It's a tone, a frequency, a color. It's very specific, and no two are alike. This individuality is the true source of strength, but pendulums condition people to ignore or suppress it, training them instead to conform. So what we tend to view as our greatest handicaps or drawbacks end up becoming our greatest strengths once we embrace them. 2, this is a really important one. The world is a mirror. Reality is not independent. It only reflects what is projected. The reflection always follows the image in the projector, though with a delay. The delay is so freaking key. It's ridiculous. That's where we have to lean into the faith, the knowing, the trust. That's where our mettle gets tested, where the excess importance gets tested. People mistakenly believe the reflection exists on its own, and so they fall under its spell, treating it as primary. So we're treating that outside world as what really is there, when it's a reflection of the primary of that inside world. They reflect each other. Attention is decisive. Wherever attention is directed, you see, attention is the real currency. This is the power. Wherever attention is directed, energy flows and forms are strengthened. If attention remains locked on the reflection, so what we're seeing is the reflection, right? Problems, fears, complaints, then those films dominate. If attention is shifted inward to the projector, to where the power is, to where it's coming from, the individual can choose what films to run. No matter what happens, we're creating it. What we have to wonder is, are we doing it consciously? Or do we have attention, or are we being blown around like a leaf in the wind? Pendulums feed on obedience. Structures in society require people to act unconsciously, as if on autopilot, or as we could call them, NPCs, non-playable characters. They need puppets who will project the pendulum's chosen films. To escape, one must refuse unnecessary influence and become themselves. You know, how many times do you have to hear it? Be yourself. Problem out there is, oh, just be yourself, it'll be great, is told by people that have no idea what they're talking about. And then you're like, but I don't know who I am. Then what are you going to be? That's where you need to learn to listen to your heart, to connect to your truth, to find your purpose, etc. There's a lot of that in the Tufte books and in some of the other books. To escape, one must refuse unnecessary influence and become themselves, living by resonance, not borrowed frames. So stop having someone else's goals, someone else's dreams, someone else's rules dictating your life. Find your truth. Wakefulness is a skill. Again, you're hearing the same thing. Wake up. A person can train themselves to notice when they slip back into the dream. This is the secret. This is lucid dreaming in life. Real life is a lot more like a dream than it is like reality. That's the purpose of all these books. You want a summary? There you go. Boom. You got one. each moment of awareness, when you stop reacting to the reflection, in other words, stop being in the fucking dream, and instead observe, that weakens the hypnotic grip of the mirror. You notice it's a hypnotic grip of the mirror because it's deceptive. It's not true, and we keep mistaking it for reality. With practice, life ceases to be a dream imposed from outside and becomes an adventure controlled consciously. The quintessence of this: shift the attention from the reflection to the source, from the mirror to the projector. Do not fight circumstances or try to argue with external film. When we fight reality, we will always lose. That's how we get lessons. It's so awesome. It's really cool. Think about your own life, you'll find it. Instead, change the frame you're projecting. Author's statement clarified from text: it is a luxurious privilege to be yourself. Now, I'm going to be straight with you here. I had a lifetime of depression, pretty friggin' severe too. And there were a lot of times in my life where I would give anything to be anyone else. I won't be anyone else now for all the tea in China. I would never leave being this character. I love who I am. And that took a little while. So no matter how dark it is, no matter where you are, I've been on that path. And this is what I help people with, because it's a lie that makes you not love yourself. The imprint will stop controlling your life when you switch attention from the reflection to the way of thinking. So when you get in touch, when you're aware to reality, then you start having that ability more and more to be living in that dream, the good part of the dream, not the bad part. I don't make plans, I create reality. Now that's awesome, because, I used to say, how do you make God laugh? Make a plan, because every time I'd make plans, it would become catastrophic. And this is so true. We set that goal at the 10,000 feet. We don't make the plan. We control reality.